Hello, my beautiful baby angel kittens. We are back with episode 25, My Month with a Billionaire. So we've just left off, and I sent you guys the texts that old Harley had sent to me. And yes, these were the other day, and I honestly screamed. I was in my kitchen just like making some soup as I was like dying with this cold. And I was like, oh my God, I literally called my girlfriend immediately, and I was like, girl. And she was like, oh, he's trying to rekindle now that he sees that he's like getting famous on the internet, even though people don't know it's him. And I was like, I know, interesting. But y'all, he is a good man, and we were okay after everything that happened. And I will explain to you guys, obviously, exactly what happened, why we didn't work out. But I am going to meet up with him for lunch sometime in the next couple weeks. So I will obviously keep you guys updated. Back to the story. I'm on the phone with Harley, and he's just dropped the bomb that he did have a younger brother, Leland, and his brother did unfortunately die when they were kids. And obviously, I'm like, okay, well, if you don't want to talk about it right now, you don't have to, but I would love to know about it because I want to know more about you. But obviously, you don't need to talk about anything until you're ready. And he was like, I do want to talk about it. If you come tonight at dinner, I will tell you everything you want to know. I'm like, well, now I have a lot of incentive to come to this dinner tonight. So I'm like, okay, on one condition, Harley. I will come to the dinner tonight, but I'm going to spend the night at my hotel tonight. I'm going to spend another night there. I'm going to wake up the next day. I'm going to go to my appointments, have my breakfast at the Pendry still, and then I will decide from there on. But I just need another night to sleep away from you and just kind of think about what I think and how I feel. But I will come to the dinner tonight and see everyone. And he was like, okay, that's all I ask. I'm like, okay, I'll see you in a couple hours. I go back inside to hang out with Mr. Harley, and I'm just sitting there chatting with him a little bit more. He's kind of talking about the fact that he really, really just loves pirates, and he just absolutely loves vampires, and he's very into fantastical things, and he's talking about the mummy and all this stuff. And I'm like, as long as this man is not mentioning Vegas again, we're good. I'm kind of looking at him, and I'm like, you know, I was walking around and I was looking at pictures of your family, and your wife was very beautiful. Your family was very beautiful. And he was like, oh, he's like, there was no one more beautiful than my wife. He was like, she could make anyone laugh. She made everyone feel comfortable as soon as she would walk into a room. She lit up the entire room, and she had just this wonderful way of making everyone feel like they were her best friend. And I was like, wow, well, she sounds like she was a really great woman. And he was like, she was. He was like, I miss her every single day. And I was like, that's really lovely. And he's like, she was older than me. And I was like, oh, really? And he was like, yeah, she was 3 years older than me. And I called her my cougar. I'm like, that is not a cougar, Mr. Harley, but I love that for you. But good on you getting an older woman. Like, good for you. And he was like, yeah, we're kind of laughing. And I'm like, okay, this seems like things are good. And we finish our macaroons, and then I have to leave because I need to now make my way out to Encino. I'm going to get to leave, and I just give him a kiss on the forehead. I'm like, okay, Mr. Harley, I got to go. I'm going to go to your son's house and have dinner with everyone and all their friends. And he just looks at me and he was like, okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow, right? And I was like, oh, I can't come tomorrow. I have to look at an apartment. I'm looking for a new place because my old place unfortunately got affected by the LA fires. And he was like, oh, well, why don't you just stay here? I'm like, Mr. Harley, I can't live in your big ass mansion. I was like, as much as that would be amazing, like, I can't. And he was like, what are you talking about? I have so much room. I have so many bedrooms. I'm like, I do know that. And I know that it is probably lonely living in this house just with you and Carol and your housekeeper and your staff of people. However, I can't live here because I'm a grown-ass girl and I need to live on my own. And he was like, okay, well, I'm just saying that it would be fun. Like, we could watch movies every day. We could play checkers. We could play chess. Like, don't you want to play games? And I was like, absolutely. Yeah. But I will be back in a couple days and I will come and play checkers and chess. You can teach me how to play chess because I don't know how to play, and we'll have a good time. And he was like, okay. I leave, I bid the girls adieu, I get into the Audi, and I drive over to Harley's house. I pull up in the whip, and outside I see my baby Kristen's Range Rover and a couple other cars outside, and I'm like, oh, I guess there's like more people here. I had texted Kristen on my way, and I was like, girl, I'm coming to dinner. She was like, yeah, I was gonna come yell at you if you didn't. I'm like, yeah, girl. I walk inside and I hear people like kind of laughing and just chatting and stuff, and I see Kristen, Jace, the guy that she was chatting with, Gabby, and Maria all at the bar. And they're all just like drinking some white wine and just like chatting. And Kristen and I scream and we run up and I hug her, I hug Jace, I hug Maria, and I hug Gabby. And they're like, oh my God, how's it been going? Where were you? I was like telling them, oh, I was over at Harley's dad's house. And they're like, oh my God, Chef Drew is making so much food and it's going to be so great. I walk into the kitchen and Drew is in there and he's got all the things going, and he has a sous chef in there helping, and then they also have two waiters there helping out. And I'm like, hi, Chef Drew. And he was like, oh, look, there she is, back to start trouble. I was like, oh, did you miss me? And he was like, I can't believe that you are out eating hotel food and not here letting me cook you breakfast. I'm like, well, the hotel food is the pantry and it's pretty freaking good. And he was like, okay, yeah, you're right. And yes, y'all, from the video of all the Netflix casting that I would have, Chef Drew is very cute. So now you can imagine exactly what he looks like. I'm like, oh, where's Dana and Harley? And they're like, oh, they aren't home yet. I'm like, okay, so me and everybody else, me, Jace, and Gabby, and Kristen, we go outside into the yard to kind of wait for food being made, and I sit in the yard with them. And Kristen's like, okay, tell me everything, like, what's been going on? So I tell her that I was snooping around Mr. Harley's house, and I was, like, walking upstairs and walking around and seeing everything. And I was like, girl, I didn't know about Harley's younger brother. And she was like, oh, you didn't know about Leland? I was like, no, girl. And she was like, oh my God, it's a crazy story what happened. Like, it's really sad. And I was like, yeah, well, Harley said he was going to tell me about it today. And Gabby's like, yeah, it's really crazy and it's really sad. It's a sad story. And she's like, oh, what happened? And Kristen's like, oh, I'll tell you later. I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom. Kristen, come with me. And she's like, okay. I dragged Kristen in the bathroom with its automatic lights and its automatic toilet seat that goes up. That did scare me the first time I went in there, and the heated ass floors. It's cute because every single one of the bathrooms that's in Harley's house all has like kind of a different theme. And this bathroom that's downstairs, it's the one that is down in between Kristen's room and the office, and it's got like a Hollywood theme. So it's got black marble floors, all these like gold squares everywhere and gold stars, and it kind of looks like a Hollywood powder room, I would say. So we're in there, and I'm like, what's going on with this Jace guy? And she was like, oh, he's cute, right? His mom is a really big Brazilian singer. I'm like, oh. And she's like, yeah, he's just here because he wanted to come to LA and try modeling and stuff. We met through some mutual friends, but he's really hot. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, and he has, I was like, okay, girl, we love to see it. While in the bathroom, we heard the ding ding of the front door, and we're like, oh shit, Daddy Harley and Dana are back. So we walk out, and I see Daddy Harley walking in, and he's in his signature little black chrome jeans and his white t-shirt and his little chrome glasses and his Gucci slides. And Dana is wearing a head to toe baby pink monochrome look that looks like pajamas, but they're meant to be like loungewear. You know what I'm talking about? Where girls wear those like button up silk pajama set things, but it's meant to be an outdoor wear thing. So she's wearing something like that. And as soon as Harley sees me, he gets the biggest smile on his face. And he was like, oh, there she is. He was like, there's the queen. And I was like, did you miss me? I run over and I give him a kiss. And he was like, it feels like I haven't seen you in forever. I'm like, you literally just saw me. It's like, I know. But like I said, I was very lonely sleeping it without you last night. So when you walk into his place, there's like a middle kind of greeting table that usually has these huge ass flowers on it. And he kind of puts his keys there and everything. And then behind it, there is a wall that has a bunch of expensive paintings and artwork and everything, and a bookshelf. And so he just set his stuff on the little round table. And then on the back side of the room, there is a big glass wall that you can see into the wine cellar room. And it is all made of glass, and all the wine bottles are stacked up like this in rows. And across from that is the bar. So he walks over to the bar immediately, literally doesn't even bat an eyelash, look over Dana's way or anything, and just goes under, grabs the bottle of whiskey that he and I had drank from the other day, and just pours himself a glass. Me and Kristen are like, ooh, he's not even like caring that the old enforcer is here. He pours himself a glass, looks at me, and I nod my head, and he pours another glass, and he's like, Kat, come outside with me for a sec. I was like, of course. I walk outside with him, and we just go and sit on the little lawn chairs, and he's like, come here. And I just kind of go sit like between his legs in his lap, and I'm sitting in between his legs. He's sitting behind me, and we're just kind of looking at the pool and just into the beautiful Encino sky. And he's like, so tell me about your day. And I was like, well, you know, your dad, he lost his shit. He was like, I'm so sorry about that. And I was like, it's totally fine. What is the deal with Vegas though? And he was like, I know. He's like, he's been obsessed with going back to Vegas after the biggest memory right now that he's really latched onto is a memory of a trip that he went to in Vegas with his friends for a bachelor party. And I was like, well, why don't you take him to Vegas again? And he was like, I could, but like, it's just a lot of work because we have to bring Carol and we have to bring all the things that he likes. It's frustrating because we could take him to Vegas and then suddenly he wouldn't want to be there and then he'd be throwing a tantrum because he wants to be back in LA. I'm like, I know, but your dad is old and I know that he is going through this horrible, horrible disease, but he deserves to be happy and he deserves to have a good time. So maybe like you should take him. And he was like, yeah, will you come? And I was like, if you take Daddy Harley to Vegas, 100% I will come. And he was like, don't say that if you don't mean it. I was like, do I ever say anything I don't mean? And he was like, okay, if you want to take him to Vegas, then we'll plan it. I was like, tea, y'all. So I turn around to face him and I'm looking at him. And he was like, okay, ask me whatever you want to ask me as he's sipping his drink. I'm like, okay, do you want to tell me about what happened with your brother? And he was like, all right, here's what happened with Leland. When I was 5 and Leland was 18 months old and my sister was 5 years older, so she was 10, I was really into soccer. He's like, I had been into soccer since I was 3, and I really had convinced myself that I was going to be this famous soccer player and go to Europe. I was obsessed with learning tricks and showing my mom all these tricks. And it was like kind of the way that I loved to make her laugh and impress her was by doing all these soccer tricks. And I'd always been very, very close with her and her favorite. So then when Leland was born, there was definitely a lot of jealousy because I didn't want a brother. He's like, I wanted to be the youngest. I wanted to be my mother's favorite and only boy of the family. So when Leland was born, I really wasn't into it. But she was paying a lot of attention to Leland, obviously, because he was a baby. And we were in the kitchen. And the way that the kitchen is set up is there's a huge medium in the middle that has chairs around it. And then there's all the stuff over here, like the fridge and everything like that. And then on the left, there is a casual dining table. He's like, so my mom was sitting at the kitchen island. Leland was sitting in a high chair, and she was feeding him. And I was trying to show my mom this new trick that I just learned at school where I could kick the ball on my knee and to my other knee and how many times I could do it. And I was trying to show her, and she was half paying attention to me. And I was getting really frustrated because she kept doing this every single time Leland was around, which he was always around because obviously he was a baby. And I was like, Mom, look, look, look. And she was like, 1 second, I just am trying to get your brother to eat. I was trying to show her, and I did the trick better than I had done it ever before. I had bounced the ball on either knee like 6 times. I'd never done it. I look over, and she wasn't looking, and she was like laughing, trying to feed Leland. He's like, I got so mad that I kicked the ball as hard as I could in their direction. He's like, I honestly was just so mad and overcome with anger that I just kicked it. I didn't even know where it was going to go. It flew over. It hit Leland's high chair. The high chair fell over. He's like, my mother tried to catch Leland, but the high chair flew over. He spilled out of the high chair, and Leland bashed his head on the ground. Of course, he starts crying. He's like, I ran over. I felt terrible. I was freaking out. My mom was crying. She picked him up. He looked completely fine, but obviously she wanted to make sure, so she rushed him to the emergency room to Cedars-Sinai. It's like, while there, doctors were thinking he was okay, but my parents wanted to keep him overnight because they wanted to obviously make sure he was okay. During the night while Leland was at the hospital, he progressively started getting very sick. He was vomiting. The doctors were having trouble waking him up, and the swelling in the brain became so bad that the oxygen to the brain was compromised, and the next morning he wouldn't wake up and he died. Harley's like, and it was my fault. Like, it was completely 100% my fault. And he's like, and that is something that I have had to live with my entire life. And after that, my mom still loved me. We were very close, but she never quite looked at me the same. And my dad blamed me, obviously. Really started skipping school and not caring and smoking cigarettes and being really irresponsible with women and just really not caring about what happened to me, which led to all my future problems and my problems now as a 50-something-year-old man. And I was like, Harley, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I cannot believe that you had to go through that. That's so traumatic. I really hope that you understand now that you were a child and that you cannot continue to blame yourself for that. And he was like, of course I continue to blame myself for that. And I will never stop blaming myself for that. And the screen door just opened, and Kristen popped her head out, and she was like, Chef Drew is done. It's time to eat. And I was like, okay, Harley, well, thank you so much for being vulnerable with me. Thank you for sharing this with me. I'm so sorry that you've had to go through that. I really, really appreciate you telling me. And he was like, of course. He was like, I don't care who knows my story, and I don't care. It's not like I'm trying to hide who I am. Like, I'm never going to try to hide the truth about me because I don't care. But I need you to also understand that there are even worse things that I've done and things that you need to know about me before you really think about if you want to be involved with someone like me. I'm like, Harley, you're the one that's been trying to convince me to be involved with you, and now you're dropping all this, like, I'm actually a bad man sort of lore? Like, what's happening here? Okay, we need to revisit this, but it's time to go eat. So, yes, y'all. Episode 26, the dinner that we have with everyone, and the incredible drama that ensues with Dana at our family dinner, and more. I love you and I see you, and thank you for being here. And thank you to everyone who leaves positive comments every day and sends me all these beautiful messages. I read every single one, and I try to respond to every single one as much as I can because I love y'all so much and I see you, and I appreciate you being open to my vulnerability and my stories. And for y'all that come here every day to hear about my crazy lore in life, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of my community.